Hey, I'm trying to get comfortable on this here couch. What's up, y'all? What's up? We made it to November. Man, January is almost here. 2024 is almost here. Wow. Before I get into what I'm going to get into today, I want to pray. I mean, I do it all the time, but I haven't done it on here, I don't think. And I just want to pray. So bow your heads and close your eyes, please. All right, here we go. God, I just want to thank you for this day, this opportunity to live again, to breathe again, to be a witness, to be a vessel to your people, to give to your people, as well as receive from your people as we exchange hearts, experiences, thoughts, perceptions. Thank you for allowing us to do all of the above, to discover and explore one another. Thank you for that. Thank you for the gifts and abilities that you have given us. Thank you for the gifts and the abilities that you have given me, the ability to even do any of this podcast. I don't take it lightly. I pray over this episode. I pray over everyone listening to this episode. And I pray that they will listen with open minds and that they will be attentive and that whatever needs to reach them, I pray that it'll go down to the depths of their souls. Wherever there is a need, I pray that it will be met, whether that be because I am watering something that they already know that is true, or I am implanting truth. Regardless, I pray that they will be able to receive and that they will fully blossom into the people that you have called them to be. I pray that you will help them to be present in this moment in time for however long this podcast episode is going to be. And thank you if they even made it this far to listen to this episode. I pray that their attentiveness, their intentionality, their investments in watching this podcast episode will not be in vain. I pray that you will lead me and guide my words, guide my thoughts, whatever it is that you need for me to say to them today, help me say it. And I pray against any distractions. And if they are seemingly distractions, I pray that it will flow into what you are trying to do, because you cause all things to work together for our good. Thank you for everything that you are about to do. We ask that you bless this last episode of 2023. In Jesus' name, amen. What's up, y'all? Let me go ahead and clear my throat because, ooh. Hey, y'all. What's up? Woo. Woo, woo, woo. Hey. How am I feeling? I'm feeling amazing, honestly. I'm feeling on top of the world, even though the world has attempted to be on top of me. What's up, y'all? I am your host, Micaiah Janae of the Throne Talk podcast. And as stated in the prayer, this is our last episode. Welcome to those of you who are new. Welcome. Always go back if you can, whenever you're available. Go back and listen to previous episodes so you could get a gist of who we are and what we do here. This is the Throne Talk podcast, where I give you my queenly perspective on situations in life and help you to navigate through life. And most of the time I give a pageant scenario because I spent most of my 20s competing, chasing a dream of being Miss South Carolina. I am now 29 years old. And like I said, I spent literally, I started at 18. I stopped competing at the age of 28, literally. So I learned and I learned so much while competing. So you'll hear me use a pageant example from time to time. Before we begin, can y'all just like go share, like, subscribe, whatever video from the Throne Talk podcast to show your support? That would be greatly appreciated. Funds is low, so I know you probably can't give me a Christmas gift, but that would be the perfect Christmas gift. I promise you. Share, like, subscribe, comment, whatever you can to spread the word about this episode. As Pastor Darius says, if this episode is a blessing, if it has been a blessing to you, or if this podcast has been a blessing to you, I'm asking that you will do me a favor and spread the word about it. Yeah. And also, too, make sure you go follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Glory Throne Academy. That's where you can find us. GLORYTHRONEACADEMY. Please and thank you. Please, 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 and thank you. And I think that's about it. Are y'all ready to get into what we are getting into today? I'm excited. I'm so excited. God has been working on me. So I will be using, let's give some disclaimers first. If you hear a train, don't get distracted. Stay focused. Stay tuned into my voice. If you hear the air conditioner come on and a whole lot of white noise in the background, stay focused. Listen to my voice. Stay tuned into my voice. If you hear my mama walk through the door, my brother flush the toilet, if you hear anything, any type of background noise, don't get distracted. Get your little kicks in, your little giggles in, laugh, do whatever, and then tune back into what I'm saying. I might even acknowledge the background noises that's going on. But I mean, this is my life. This is the reality of my life. I live with other people who have to live in the same home as me, as well as I live in the hood where the train is like literally like right beside my apartment complex. So, instead of fighting, like, everybody be perfect, nobody move, nobody breathe, train, wait until I'm done recording. Instead of doing all of that, I just rather very much give you the disclaimer and we could just keep it pushing. I mean, that's where I'm at with it. All right. So I will be using my notebook a lot today because, the revelations was revelationing. Okay. They were coming to me quickly. If you have not, obviously you clicked on this episode, right? Today's topic is being the breakthrough. Being the breakthrough that you are looking for. Man, what are you talking about? Let me just go ahead and give a synopsis before I dig deep. So, oftentimes when we are going through struggles or have gone through a struggle through a period of time, like we have been in a season for a long period of time, we often wonder, when am I going to get some relief, especially if you've been in it for years, right? You wonder and ask yourself, where is my relief? Where is my breakthrough? How I came up with this topic is, one, I've been that person, still somewhat that person from time to time, but recently I've had a perspective change. And I realized that I was looking for my breakthrough, which is, there's nothing wrong with having expectancy, being, expecting, having expectations and hope and a desire for better, right? But it wasn't until this year here, until about April, where God really started doing a work on the inside of me. But the revelation of everything that he was doing didn't hit me until recently, and that is that I'm the breakthrough that I'm looking for. What I mean by that is anytime I have a mental breakthrough, anytime I overcome an obstacle, anytime I receive a revelation and I apply that revelation, anytime I'm able to dismantle the lies of the enemy, anytime I'm able to do that, anytime I'm able to face a situation that I wasn't able to face before, anytime I'm able to develop and grow and show up in a better version of myself, I am breaking through. I am breaking through anytime I am overcoming obstacles. I'm the breakthrough that I'm looking for. And it wasn't until I realized, like, recently I've been getting some opportunities, right? And I know I could have been had these opportunities. Yeah. But I realized that they started coming to me when I started doing work internally, when I started focusing in on who I am, what I'm capable of, the ugly parts of me, the great parts of me, who are the people that trigger and enable bad habits, who are the people who uplift and water the good habits, who are the people that, nurture and garden my soul and my spirit while I'm here on earth. Being more attentive to those things, being a great manager of my life, of my spirit, of my soul, of my body, being a great manager of all those things and shifting my focus from what everybody else is doing, whatever is going on around me, and when I shifted my perspective to what can I do better in every situation? How can I show up in the best way possible as the best version of my Kia? How can I be her in these moments, in every moment? I'm not perfect, far from perfect, right? But how can I be the best version of her? And I had to be still. Y'all know that because I say it all the time. I had to learn to be vulnerable with myself. I had to face myself. I had to face reality opposed to my fantasy of how life should go, but still keeping faith in the midst. And I was like, wow. I was in the kitchen cooking and I said, wow, I'm the breakthrough that I've been looking for because now I could literally sense people gravitating towards me. I could sense opportunities trying to find me. Like I could literally feel it. I could literally sense it. And I'm doing my best and I'm doing my job to make sure that I stay in alignment in this season so I can help those opportunities and those people so I can help those people and those opportunities to find me. I'm doing my job, which is continuing and still managing who I am as a person internally, how I treat people, how I respond to life, my perspective, keeping it pure, keeping it in alignment with God. I could literally feel that I am in the breakthrough. Because not because I'm in the moment, but because who I am inside, I'm literally creating the moment that I've been looking for. When you think about moments, right, that we admire or the greatest moments in history, great ones, preferably, like the good ones that we are such huge fans of. We're thinking that the moment itself is what we want, when really the moment was created by people. It's not a moment if it's not created by people, if it's not curated by people. When people get together and come to a concert, they make up that space. They bring the energy. The performer brings the energy. Everybody is bringing their contributions to the moment. People, souls, spirits, living beings, human beings are coming in a moment to create a moment. There's no physical moment without us. There's no physical moment without us. We are the moment. But when we show up in these spaces, when we show up geographically, what are we carrying with us? What is your contribution in that moment, in that space? How are you managing who you are in that moment? It's very important because your contribution matters. And when I realized that, man, I can't control what other people do. Yeah. I can't necessarily control the season that I'm in. But what I can do is manage me, control me. In the space I've been in, it's been so, oh my God. I had someone to call me yesterday, or not yesterday. This was last week. And my homegirl, she was like, girl, she was like, I had somebody ask about you. And I was like, oh, for real? I was like, okay. I was like, I think I kind of already know who it is, but, spill tea. And she was like, yeah, he was just like, oh my God, like, it's just her aura. And the only thing I could think about is that I work hard. I work hard to be that person, to make sure that I am being God's light. Simple. Being his example. Because truth of the matter is, right before I walked into the event where, the event that I'm talking about where my homegirl was and this guy, right before I walked into that event, I was faced with a challenge and my spirit was heavy. Heavy, so heavy. But I remember being in the moment saying, maybe not verbatim, but I remember sensing or having this conversation with myself and tapping in with myself and reminding myself that you are in a moment, a special moment, a great moment. What's your contributing factor? What's your contributing factor? All these souls around you, these spirits around you, you may never see them again. Mykea, you are never getting this moment again. Are you going to allow a situation that's out of your control to control how you feel now? And I said, absolutely not. And then they proceeded to, they started the podcast because it was a live podcast show. And one of the guests on the show began to tell their testimony about how, they hit a drunk driver and killed them. And I'm just like, man, life is tense, but it's not that tense for me right now. And I got to take full advantage of this moment, of these moments, because I don't know if life is ever going to get like that for me. I pray that I'm responsible enough to know, manage my liquor or alcohol when I do drink, if I drink wine, because I'm not a huge drinker, right? But, I pray that I'll manage myself well in the future, far, far in the future, because I know where I'm at now and I know where I've been, but I don't know what the future has for me, right? But I do pray that in the future that I will manage well and manage the way I drink, and I pray that when I am on the road that a drunk driver doesn't hit me. And I'm just like, man, life, like just like that, life just changed. It just changed drastically like that, like that. And he said, he was having drinks at his cousin's house, having a good time. His plan was to go home. His intentions were to go home. But on his way home, someone lost their life because things just got out of hand. And I'm like, man, and in that moment, I'm listening to his testimony and I'm like, yo, I dare not be upset about, you know, what I'm faced with, like I said, because it's out of my control right now. And I'm definitely damn sure, excuse my language, I'm damn sure not about to let the situation control me and opportunities that could be right here in the now. Serene Sunday. I did Serene Sunday. This was 2 weeks ago. And it was about do not neglect the present. The enemy will send you distractions all the time just so you will not seize the moment. Just so you will miss the opportunities, just so you'll miss your blessing right there in the moment because he wants your mind to be consumed with the what ifs, the things you just simply cannot control. And I'm like, man, and I was faced with that situation right before I walked in. And I just remember checking myself. I remember getting myself back together, bringing myself back in line. I'm like, man, whatever is going on, it is what it is. It's okay. I'm living here. This is where I'm at. I'm living here. And I remember just enjoying myself that night. And as I'm enjoying myself, I'm just celebrating myself at the same time. Like, Makia, you're doing it. You're breaking through literally in this moment. Like, you're doing it. And as I'm doing it, people can sense it. And so the fact that my homegirl called me up and was like, yo, he was like, your aura, he said he could just feel your presence. And I'm like, that's exactly what I love to hear. That's exactly what I work hard for. I work hard to be a good person. I told somebody that before. I was like, look, when they asked me, like, tell me something about yourself, I said, look, I work hard to be a good person. I have options. I could turn up. I could turn this bitch inside out if I want to. Excuse my language. Like I could turn it up if I want to. But I don't. For what? For why? So let me get to this notebook. So I want to give an example, which I just gave you an example. That was a great example, honestly. Do I need to give a pageant example? I want to talk about, let's talk about when I was competing and I performed Proud Mary. That was such a pivotal moment for me or it was such a breakthrough moment for me because the previous year before, or 2 years prior to 2019, when I did perform Proud Mary, I was presented with the opportunity, but I literally could not fathom. I literally could not, you know, I couldn't feel like it didn't pull and tug on me to do that. This guy who's in the pageant industry, he asked me to do it. He was like, you should do that. And I'm like, no, I shied away from it, knowing that I was capable, but just feeling as though, who am I though? Like, who am I to, like, can I do that? It was one of those. It was like, can I? All right, kings and queens of TTP. I want to take this time to announce that your girl, me, Makia Janae, is making jingles now, baby, like Jamie Foxx. And that's on period. That's on Mary Had a Little Lamb, Jesus Sandals, and all the other things that we be saying. Like, I'm out here and I'm in the bag. But seriously, if you know someone or if you are someone looking for someone to create an intro song or theme song for your podcast or productions, then I'm the girl that you need to see. Because if you did not know, I produced the intro for this podcast and I had so much fun doing it. And I want to help other people bring their ideas to life as well. So if this is a service that you are serious about, then you can email me at bookmikeyajane@gmail.com. That is bookmikeyajane@gmail.com. All right, now back to the show. And I was living in a space of looking for people's permission to be myself, which is an entertainer and a performer. And I've gotten so many confirmations that it's what I'm supposed to be doing, but then I was still trying to find my way. So fast forward to 2019, I wanted to do something different. I wanted to do something that was going to challenge me. I knew they had pretty much had me figured out. They had me figured out. And I was like, nah, I need to turn it up a little bit. And I remember saying to my brother and my trainer at the time, I was like, yo, I'm gonna do Proud Mary. And I was like, Todd is gonna get me because he was trying to get me to do it 2 years ago. And when I began to practice, I just remember feeling like I'm doing it, but can I do it? Like, can I execute in the moment? And I was just like, I'll never know. Like, I won't know until it happens. And I remember something telling me not to do it. Like, don't do it at Georgetown because I was competing for Miss Georgetown. And I don't know. I'll be honest and say I don't know if that no was don't do it at Georgetown, save it for Miss South Carolina. Because it was the local I was trying to win to get to Miss South Carolina. And if people see, what you're doing, then it's kind of almost like, oh, well, we know what she's doing at Miss South Carolina, And so I don't know if that no was like, no, don't do it as in fear, or if it was no, save it for later. But I will say this. I was sweating like a pig. Like, I was shook. I was just like, Mykea, the only thing to do now is to do it. I practiced and I saw myself, like, I witnessed myself performing. And I was like, yo, I could do it. But I'm like, am I going to do it though? Am I really going to execute? Like, just being concerned with how is it going to translate? How is it going to, what is it going to be like? And after I performed, it was like, oh my God, I didn't win, even though talent was 50% of the score. I digress. Didn't win that night, but, I was like, oh yeah. I knew if I could perform it on that stage, which was smaller, in a smaller auditorium, I was like, yo, I'm about to tear this shit up at Miss South Carolina. I am cursing so much today. Oh my God. But I was like, yo, I'm going to tear it up at Miss South Carolina for real, because the stage had the lighting and the cues and all the things and the space. Still to this day, that's been the biggest stage that I've performed on, and I don't regret a thing. I firmly believe that my pageant journey, that a great percentage of my pageant journey had everything to do with me developing the performer in me, like genuinely, and the producer who I am as a producer, because I'm realizing more and more, like, you're a producer, girl. Like, all the way to the T. And I remember now it's time, like people have already seen what I'm gonna do. So now they shooketh. I understand. I would be shooketh too because it was like, you're dancing in heels, a dress, spinning around, and singing. It's too much. And talent was 50% of the score. Baby, it was something to be shook about. So I understood. I personally understood. Yeah. But fast forward, get to Miss South Carolina, and I perform it on that stage. And I remember feeling the parts where I messed up. But all I knew is keep going, sell the idea, sell the show. Like, this is what you're born to do. All I knew is how to recover, because there was a moment where like I choked on my spit. There was a moment where like my hair got stuck to the lip gloss, and I had to like move my hand. And I was like, yo, like I'm thinking while I'm performing. And after watching the video, I was like, oh my God, this is what you're supposed to do, my kid. Like, you can do it. You got to understand, watching performers like Tina Turner, Beyonce, people who perform at high levels like that, you admire all the time, but you don't think that you can actually do it. Baby, I was spinning and I'm like, yo, I just broke through. It wasn't even about winning that year. Of course, I felt like I probably was the winner, but we digress. We collectively, I digress. But ultimately, I think a lot of that moment had to do with me just breaking through as a performer. Yo, like what? I'm gonna put a little, for those of you who are looking on YouTube, I'm gonna put a little video right here on the side so you can see it. But I'm just like, I can do this. I'm capable. I'm able. You have to understand that once you experience it, you'll never be the same again. And even if you try to go back to your old ways, it's hard. It's hard to settle. It's hard to settle in reverse. Because if you already know what's ahead of you, if you've already experienced the best parts of you, why would you go back? There have been so many times where God has delivered me out of something, and because of unfamiliarity, I think that's how you say it, unfamiliarity, I went back out of habit. I went back just because it's comfortable. It's what I know, but I never stay long because it's just like, I don't belong here anymore. Let's just try the new thing. I'll find my way in the new thing. I'll figure it out. Because like I said, once you experience that breakthrough, once you get that exposure of who you are on another level, it's like, what? Go back for what? Go back for why? I'm not going back. And like I said, if I do go back, I'm not going to be comfortable because it's not who I am anymore. It's not going to feel easy. Anytime I tried to go back, there was this dis-ease. No peace. Like no peace whatsoever. Just discomfort. Like, get up out of here. And you're going to experience discomfort, obviously, right? But I'd rather experience the discomfort in the new thing, because that's who I am now, versus experiencing the discomfort of who I used to be and getting lost in that person because I'm scared to elevate. Bump all that. All right, let's go to this notebook and see what notes I had, because I wrote down a lot of notes, but I done prayed that prayer chat at the beginning of this podcast, and now I'm just flowing how I'm flowing. So a point that I wrote down is, we are human beings, not human doings. Tony Jones, I listened to her affirmations, and that's something that she says. You're not a human being. You're not a human doing. You're a human being. Like, you're actually being who you need to be. Like, of course, you are doing things. Essentially, you are doing things, but all the doings is conditioning you to be the person that you need to be. So when I looked up the definition of being, it means existence, living, reality. And I want to ask you all, like, what's your reality? I'm not talking about your circumstances. I'm talking about the reality within yourself, how you handle your circumstances, your perspective about the circumstances. What's your reality? Because ultimately, that's what's going to attract what you need, or that's going to attract the opportunities that you need to create your breakthrough, or to create the moment that exudes and expresses the breakthrough that has happened within you. You are the miracle that you're looking for. You're praying and asking God for a miracle, but you're the miracle that you're looking for. Your faith, your dedication, the things you condition yourself to. When you fast, when you pray consistently without ceasing, when you intentionally surround yourself with the right people in your life. That's you living. That's the reality I'm referring to. That's my reality. And my reality has elevated me in a way where I can't be messed with. Not for real, for real. Mm-mm. It's almost like a repellent at this point now. Even if I try to, you know, congregate, so associate, fellowship with low vibrational people, it's almost like they can't stand to be around me. They don't even know why they can't be around me at this point. And I just had to accept the fact that I work very hard to be this person. I literally submerge myself in God's grace. I literally take God at his word when he says that I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me. I literally take God at his word when he says, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. You know, like everything, like I'm taking it literally. If you say you are my deliverer, if you say you are my healer, if you say you are a waymaker, I'm taking your word at it literally. Right? The internal work, I'm taking it personal. Like, okay, let's test it out and see. And as a result, because I was adamant about being the person that God called me to be, people just like, they just fall off from me. And I used to cry about it. I used to, I ain't even gonna sit here and lie, I cry a lot about it, you know, because some separations hurt. Let's be honest. Like, people try to act, this is a side note, people try to act and pretend like they don't care. But I care. And I'm gonna tell you every time I care. Does not mean I'm gonna let you take advantage. Does not mean that you just gonna like allow your spirits, your dark shadows to overpower what I got going on over here. But I will admit that you were a beneficial factor to me. Or that I like being around you at least. But yeah, but as a result, now people just kind of like distance themselves from me naturally. And I'm now receiving it as a blessing. Like, rejection is a form of God's protection. And so that's where I'm at with that. So yes, you are the miracle that you are looking for. And you have to face your reality by creating a reality for yourself that will help you repel the bad things and receive the good things. Yeah, like, I want to talk about this last thing and then I'm gonna get out y'all way. There was this post on Facebook and it was like I forgot how it was worded, but it was like the pastor got until December 1st, the pastor has until December 31st to explain why this year wasn't my year. Or and I was like, yo, it's so funny. It was so comical, and I shared it. Listen to the truck in the background and my neighbors. Hey y'all. Hi guys. Oh Lord, the kids coming up the stairs. Can y'all hear them? Child, all the time. They just living their lives. Focus. Focus. But the post said the pastor has until December 31st to explain why this year wasn't my year, or was my year. I can't remember which word it was, but I remember sharing the post and I said, yeah, it was my year, all right. And when I shared it with the thought in mind, or the perception in mind, that yes, it was my year, but it wasn't the year that I thought it was going to be. It was literally my year of preparation to where I'm going to next. Like, the pruning that happened this year was excruciating. Like, whoo, like, cried every month this year, just about. I promise you, 3 times a month, honestly. Like, October alone, I want to say I cried about 4 or 5 times. Like, I've been crying. Y'all. Like, crying seriously, because I've just been going through so many changes. But I had the perception in mind, like, yeah, it was my year, all right. Like, I still believe that it was my year, but it was my year for something, for this separation that has been happening, and it's been painful, but it's been so rewarding. Hey, choo-choo train in the background, y'all. Everybody say hey to the choo-choo train. If you could hear it, say hey. There it is. But someone commented up under it, or she used to be my pastor before my mom got married and we moved to another church. But Pastor Louise, she was like, God, what did she say? She basically said, you have until December 31st to believe, to get your faith up. And I was like, woo-wee. I said, what now? I said, ooh, I feel it. And yes, to me, I was just like, yo, like, you're right. But also, too, after I got the revelation about being the breakthrough, I was like, man, I no longer want to hold a calendar date responsible for when my breakthrough was going to happen. Like, December 31st got to be the day. Like, it has to be this day, no other day. And if it's not this December 31st, I got to wait a whole another 364 days to get to the other December 31st. I got to wait. January 1st is the only time. That's the only time God could get things shaken. Like, make it make sense. So I'm going to leave y'all with these points right here. Let me find it. We make people responsible. We make time responsible for our breakthroughs, meaning that we limit our breakthrough to the 365 days that happens. Like, we've been conditioned to believe that the biggest transformations happen between the 31st and probably like the end of January, or, like mid-June. Like, all right, God, it's the 6th month. I already know. And I see the posts on Facebook all the time. October is going to be the month. Like, and it's great to have things or to have expectation, but ultimately just making the time responsible is crippling us, when really we just need to be responsible for ourselves, going back to managing ourselves well, creating a reality that will create an energy and an aura that will attract the opportunities to create the breakthrough that we want. And also, too, we make people responsible for our faith and breakthrough. The fact that or the fact that the post said, my pastor has so time to explain why, your pastor is only a vessel, baby. That's it. That's all. Like, that's it. And we have to take that responsibility, take that pressure off of them, because they're not God. When we receive prophecies, they're only speaking, supposedly, allegedly, hopefully, they're speaking like God is giving them something to say to you. And the Bible talks about how prophets only know in part and see in part. I hope I'm saying that right, but they only know in part and see in part. That's it. They don't know all. Only God sees all. And so we have to stop making people responsible for our breakthroughs, making it seem like, this is the person who can only foresee what's going to happen in my life. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. So, yeah, y'all, be the breakthrough. Stop looking for it. Live life in expectation. Have hope, right? But ultimately, the hope is within you. Expect more from yourself. Manage yourself well. Foster your environment. Curate your environment. Create your reality that will attract the opportunities, the people, whatever you need, the resources to assist you with creating the breakthrough, or to assist you to express the breakthrough that is happening within you. I love y'all so much. I won't see y'all or hear from y'all, we won't be talking too much because I won't be posting podcast clips, but Happy New Year. You know what? It is a new year. It's a new year within me. Like, I'm not waiting for December 31st. It's already a new year for me. So Happy New Year to you, to those of you who are doing the work, working hard on yourself, working hard to be good people, great people, to show up as your best self. Pat yourself on the back. I'm patting myself on the back. I love y'all so much. Oh my God. May God be with you. Moving forward, 2024 is only an extension of the breakthrough that we are already experiencing right now within ourselves. Let's get it. Opportunities, people, resources, everything is coming to us. And if it's not coming to us, God is leading us. We are aligning with God, and God is leading us to the moments, to the places. He's positioning us so these people can find us, or we can find them. Period. Point blank. Period. It's lit. I love y'all. 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 Stay tuned for the 4th season of Throne Talk Podcast. Y'all, it's going to be special. You're not going to want to miss it. So run these episodes back until we get back. But I'll see y'all in January. I love y'all. And yep. Bye.